A UK variant of COVID-19 creeps into Massachusetts. Don't get caught skating on thin ice. And it's time to pay some rep-HAIR-ations. It's ACMi News up next.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to. This is ACMi News.
Hello Arlington and welcome to ACMi News. I'm In-young Kim. Here's a little good news. Virus cases have dramatically declined over the past 3 weeks, with more communities following safety protocols like wearing masks and keeping social distance. Daily U.S. cases have fallen by 35%. And now the Biden administration is working to speed up the rollout of vaccines. These are all signs that we are taking the first small steps towards the herd immunity we are hoping for. We stay with COVID-19 for our first story. A new mutation of the virus has emerged from the United Kingdom, prompting the United States to tighten travel restrictions for flights to and from the UK to prevent the strain from entering the country. Unfortunately, at this time, 24 states have reported cases of the UK variant strain, including Massachusetts. ACMi News correspondent Maxim Isaac asked a couple of experts what happens from here.
It is a common process for viruses to mutate. However, what isn't normal is when one strand alters itself more than a dozen times. As of this month, there have been 2 new variants detected in the nation and 2 confirmed cases of one of those variants here in the Commonwealth.
What's unique about this strain is that there are about 14 mutations that have happened all on one virus, which is an unusual number of mutations.
According to health officials, a man in his 20s from Worcester County has been confirmed by the state laboratory as the second resident with the UK variant. Dr. Catherine Gergen-Barnett from Boston Medical Center explains the variant can be more transmissible, but could potentially be deadlier too.
We are not at all certain that the greater severity of disease is true or validated, but there is a rising concern that has come out of the UK over the last 2 days that in fact this variant might be what is considered more deadly.
While the variant is still being analyzed, some promising signs are emerging that the vaccines from Moderna and Pfizer could be effective against these and future variants.
So I think one more arrow in our quiver will be if these new variants arise and if the vaccine that we're currently using isn't as effective against them, both of those companies can reproduce vaccines pretty quickly that allow us to adapt.
Although the state's vaccine rollout plan has proceeded more slowly than anticipated, according to Dr. Gergen-Barnett, the new federal plan is a welcome change.
We have been very hungry for a federal response, and we are thrilled that there will now be a federal response that we can lean on, and every state can have some sort of organizing set of principles and have that be cohesive.
Doctors agree that as the vaccines continue to roll out, the normal protocols of wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart, and washing your hands are still vital in keeping everyone safe. For ACMi News, I'm Maxim Isaac.
Thank you, Maxim. The UK variant of COVID-19 is more contagious and maybe more severe. So make sure to keep that mask on and wash your hands often. One Arlington resident is an accomplished radiation oncologist who has received numerous accolades throughout the course of her medical career. But recently, Dr. Robin Schonthaler has emerged as a prominent storyteller and creative writer in the community. Her writings include personal narratives, slices of life, and informative articles about COVID-19. Senior news producer Anim Usmani sat with the versatile physician to learn more about her hobby.
Dr. Robin Schonthaler is a highly respected physician in her field, a mother of 2, and a creative writer. Dr. Schonthaler started out her career in medicine in 1992. Eventually, she discovered both a talent and an affinity for writing.
About 15 years ago, I started writing, and I mean, I'd always been a writer and a letter person and that sort of thing, but I started writing and then eventually writing for publication. And a lot of the writing that I did was to sort of process all the things that I was learning in the cancer clinic. And then it began to be sort of teaching about what I learned in the cancer clinic. And then it expanded into, you know, sort of interesting things that happened in our lives and in Arlington. And yeah, it was really super fun to write and then also be read. Turned out I liked being read. And then in the last few years, that's actually expanded into storytelling.
Dr. Schonthaler received a lot of attention for one of her recent opinion pieces. I'm a doctor who tried to plan an extremely safe Thanksgiving for 3 people. It wasn't worth the scare it put us through. An experience that was originally posted on the Arlington List. The article was featured in prestigious publications such as the Boston Globe and Business Insider.
So basically what we did was we said we want to have the safest Thanksgiving we can possibly have following the science. So we'll all, you know, mostly stay home for a couple of weeks before we get together. We'll only be together for a couple hours. We'll sit really far apart. We'll have masks on all the time, except when we actually have a fork in our mouth. And we'll cook at home, so we don't spend hours in the kitchen together. And we'll just do this tiny little Thanksgiving, and we'll still be together, and it'll be wonderful. Well, it would have been wonderful, except for 48 hours later, my oldest son got COVID, which meant that not only were we devastated that he was ill, but it also meant that the other people in our little family had been exposed when he was contagious, since the hallmark of COVID is that you can spread it when you don't know you're sick. You're contagious for at least several days before you manifest any symptoms. On the heels of that, I decided to pitch it to the Boston Globe. And that took a couple days, but they ended up publishing it that week. And then, as I said, Business Insider reached out to me, another outlet called Scary Mommy, which has 8 million followers on Facebook.
In addition to continuing to treat her patients at MGH's cancer clinics, Dr. Schonthaler plans to keep writing about her personal experiences, funny, sad, or happy, as well as provide insight into medical science for as long as people continue to read her work. She has recently carved out a particular role for herself when it comes to COVID-19.
Now I call myself a COVID translator, but it definitely comes from being COVID obsessed. It's a couple things. One was my medical training was very much hugely influenced by the AIDS and HIV epidemic. It was literally bookended. We didn't know what the disease was at the start of my medical training, and we had tests and the very earliest of treatments at the end of my training. And since my training was like 12 years, that was a long time to watch an epidemic come and go. And I had 1 million AIDS and HIV patients. And that's a hard thing for a young doctor, to have the majority of your patients be terminally ill at that time. So my way of I had several ways of coping with that kind of a very tumultuous training. And one of them was to learn about the history of epidemics. When this started, once it became apparent that it was not going to be just another H1N1, another thing that we were afraid was going to be a pandemic and then dissipated. Once I realized that, then I found all those same interests sprang back up, and all my my sort of interest in seeing how this pandemic was going to fit into the history of pandemics, that came up. And one of my philosophies in all of this is that the science will save us, which was a big shock to a lot of people. I mean, I think a lot of people thought this was not a salvageable situation. Or I'd say I have several mantras, and another one is all epidemics always end. That's what I learned from the history of epidemics.
Thank you, Annie. I'm excited to read her stories. For the full conversation with Dr. Robin Schonthaler, please visit our website. If you're one of the hundreds of folks who have been reaching out for more information about vaccine availability in Arlington and have been frustrated, the town manager wants you to know that he feels your pain. In unusually blunt terms, Adam Chatelain recently addressed the state efforts on this issue.
There is widespread frustration amongst local governments at the way the state administration has been handling the vaccine rollout. I can't criticize for 1 second the fact that there is a legitimate vaccine shortage, right? There's not enough vaccine getting to states across the whole country fast enough to get people vaccinated as fast as they want to be. But I can, I think, fairly criticize the communication that's coming from the state and some of the coordination. We're frankly very upset that the governor has given the impression that people 75 plus, and then very soon people 65 plus will be able to readily access the vaccine, and suggesting to some degree that they should be contacting their local boards of health or council on aging to do so. For anybody who's listening, I want to be very clear. This week we were granted 100 doses of vaccine to vaccinate people in phase 1. In total, we received 300 because we're partnering with Lexington and Belmont, but it was 100 per community. And that's a cap that the state has put on for every community, regardless of size. You're getting 100 per community a week until they get more vaccine. So again, I'm not criticizing the shortage, but I am criticizing the communication because it's put our local staff in the position of having seniors who really want this vaccine calling and being understandably very angry that we don't have it to give to them. And that's because the governor has misset expectations. I've been on calls all week with other local leaders planning for how we're going to engage the state administration on these issues. And I'll be on a call tomorrow morning with the lieutenant governor and other local officials. And one of our very clear and explicit asks is going to be about communication. Please stop communicating that this vaccine is available when you cannot make it available to us. So I know this is probably a little more direct and explicit than I am usually, but I do want to be clear. We are ready to vaccinate. Christine Bongiorno and her team have put together a really efficient and robust operation. We're trying to ramp up to be able to vaccinate 300 people a day once we're able to get vaccine, but we need the vaccine to do it. So we're advocating to anybody who will listen, and with partners, both public and private, to be able to ramp up and do this distribution, but we need the vaccine. So my message to Arlington is we're ready. We've asked you for continued patience, but please stay patient because as soon as we get the vaccine, we're going to distribute it.
As temperatures drop in Massachusetts, residents look to winter sports for outdoor entertainment. Ice skating is a favorite among locals, but it comes with risks. ACMi's Isabel Lirist spoke with Fire Captain Martin Conroy to learn more about the dangers of skating on thin ice.
Outdoor ice skating may seem like the perfect COVID-friendly winter sport, but as Fire Captain Conroy tells us, there are certain precautions that we must take when stepping out onto the ice.
As a fire department, as the town of Arlington, our position always is that, no ice is safe ice. We can't guarantee the thickness of the ice. We can't, we don't know the conditions yesterday or the day before. It's just tough to know on any given day what is safe and what's not. So that's why we kind of advise against it. Did a water rescue exercise up at Mid-Omni Rocks Park a couple weeks ago, just because we noticed on social media a lot of people were talking about skating up there. And, we wanted to test the depth. So we were in the middle of the pond. We were able to determine it's about 16 feet deep, roughly 16, 17 feet deep in the middle. But yeah, we're probably going to be doing, hopefully another couple weeks, we'll let the ice develop a little bit more out on Spy Pond.
Captain Conroy explained what you should do in the event that you fall through the ice.
You want to self-rescue, then reach, throw, row and go. You'd want to kind of splay out your arms and just try and basically grab on either side of you. Hopefully it's a small break. You might be able to stay above the surface. And then you kind of want to try and bob yourself up. And then at that point, you want to just make sure you spread yourself out as much as possible to disperse your body weight over a larger area.
Conroy explained what the ice safety training looks like for Arlington firefighters.
We definitely train for it at least once or twice a year. And then just for ice rescue training alone. And then we do another, couple times a year for water rescues. Kind of go out a little bit. We'll break a hole with an axe. We'll put one of our members, that's inside an ice rescue or a cold water immersion suit. We'll put them in the hole. They're tethered to shore with a rope, just for safety reasons. And then we'll have another member use the sled and kind of get out there with the sled out into the middle of the out to the point where that person's in the water, and they'll attempt to pull them out, secure them to the sled, and then they do a hand signal, because of the fact that the cold water suit surrounds your ears, and it can be tough to speak. So we do some hand signals. Then the shore-based members pull them in with the rope. They do all the work to get them in. So I mean, again, self-rescue if you can. If someone's nearby you, they can again use a stick or some other type of thing to reach in there. If you can throw something, a rope or any type of improvised rescue disc. But yeah, just last resort is to go out on the ice or try and attempt a rescue yourself. Just give us a shout. The faster we can get out there and help you, the better.
Thank you, Captain Conroy, for your expertise. I hope that we can still all have some safe winter fun this season. For ACMi News, I'm Isabella Durst.
Thank you, Isabel. Ice skating is a great way to celebrate winter, but make sure to follow the safety guidelines. At the intersection of Mass Avenue and Park Avenue, a small business opened up in the spring of 2020, Rep-HAIR-ations. Established by 3 local women, it provides a space for Black Americans who often have difficulty finding hair services that cater to their particular taste and ambitions. ACMi News correspondent Mary Rose Sott makes her own debut with this profile.
Amidst nationwide reckoning with inequality in the United States, one Arlington small business is focused on rectifying one issue in particular, caring for Afro-textured hair.
Reparations is something that I think is very important right now to discuss, not just in the Black community, but in America. And hair for Black families on this side of town, like taking care of our hair, is an issue because it's segregated.
Yvonne Adams, Sipo Mangu, and Heidi Bailey started Reparations with the intention of giving Black people a space to care for and appreciate their hair. Their name is a blend of the words hair and reparations. For centuries, Black people have been discriminated against for wearing their hair in protective styles such as braids and natural hairstyles.
And you get different reactions. People are uncomfortable with it, but we knew exactly what we were doing because it needs to be a conversation that is out there.
We wanted to bring something that was missing to, Boston is so segregated. There are plenty of hair shops in Dorchester, Mattapan, but if you are a Black person who lives on this side of town, there is nothing for you. And so we wanted to create a space for the people where no space for them yet exists.
Sipo Mangu talked about her experience of having to travel distances to find places that knew how to style her hair.
Because I could not find a place where I could do my hair or my daughter's hair. So I had to learn and walked into any shop where they ruined my hair with their products because they are not what I use. They don't have for Black hair. So I had to take the subway to Boston downtown, to wherever to find hair care products, to find a salon.
Our families are the people that are in our circles. Like, there are plenty of Black people in this area, whether it's in Arlington specific or just in the surrounding areas. And we are all traveling so far.
When it came to opening the salon, the 3 women had to navigate the financial challenges of starting a business. Just as they face unequal access to hair care, Black people are often denied equal access to business funding as well.
I had the skin color that could call up a realtor and sign a lease or walk into a bank to apply for a loan.
Small acts of reparations.
The things that a Black person starting a small business does not have the luxury of doing. So in that way, just sort of in the way that we work together to create this business.
Along with being a store and a braiding salon, Reparations serves as a safe space to facilitate social justice discourse.
And then we also have a community space, which of course during COVID is being completely underutilized.
Yeah.
But a library space, we do sell a limited amount of books.
Yeah.
And then this space is just kind of offered out as a community space for Black people specifically, but other people of color to use for, braiding hair. I think there's such a community spirit here now. Our community is waiting for our doors to open.
The murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others have sparked a national conversation surrounding what justice means and what the future holds for younger generations of Black Americans.
In terms of social justice and equity, we either keep pushing it down the road and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And we're not going to have a country, or we deal with it now and it's going to be hard and messy and scary. And I want a world for my child. That's what this is.
And we want to show people that you don't need to shy away from the conversation, that it may feel scary, but that the conversation is so worthwhile. And it needs to be had.
As they open their business, the founders of Reparations are hoping that Black people will feel more represented and welcome in the Arlington community.
Well, I think we already, just by being here, making a difference. Hope kids walking in, especially Black little girls, they're like, whoa, and they feel, have you seen those little girls when they walk in here? They are so happy. Wow, they find stuff for themselves because, So just by being here, I think we are making a big difference.
Unfortunately, hair-based discrimination is not something that is new. Historically, Afro-textured hair has been seen as unprofessional or not presentable by employers, administrators, and peers alike, leading Black people to face discrimination based on not just the color of their skin, but on the texture of their hair. That's where Reparations comes in, to give people of color a space to appreciate and celebrate their hair no matter how they choose to style it. Only very recently has anti-hair discrimination been enacted, although it does not yet exist in all 50 states. For ACMi News, Mary Rose Saad.
Thank you, Mary Rose. And just a reminder, local businesses can survive and thrive, but only with the active support of residents. Arlington High School's choral and instrumental ensembles, as well as the music technology program, have shrugged off the challenges of COVID and will present their annual winter concert on Friday, January 29th. It will, of course, be virtual and will be live streamed on ACMi's education channel. If you missed the live performance, no worries. ACMi will re-air the concert regularly over the coming weeks. And now, for other high school news and sports, let's turn it over to the Ponderscope crew. Guys, what do you have for us?
Hello, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Ponderscope, your Arlington High School news, updates, and more. The AHS Drama Guild proudly presents Carol Churchill's play, Love and Information. Opening late next week, 15 performers will play over 100 different characters as they navigate through different forms of virtual communication. The ensemble will put on 3 performances, starting on Thursday, February 4th at 7:30 p.m., and running until Saturday the 6th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets can be purchased using the link in the description. Driver's Ed programs continue with a February intensive rapidly approaching. All students who'd like to complete their 30-hour driving class requirement are still able to register for this intensive, which runs from February 15th to 19th from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. To grab a slot for this virtual program, make sure to register by visiting the CS Driving website. Registration for the Fall 2 athletic season opens on February 1st. The sports currently offered for this session are football, boys and girls indoor track, and girls volleyball. Offerings still pending are boys and girls swim and cheer. As always, registration should be completed on familyid.com. Any questions can be directed to Athletic Director John Bowler at jbowler@arlington.k12.ma.us. The AHS Performing Arts Winter Concert will be streamed this Friday, January 29th at 7 p.m. All choral, instrumental, and music tech ensembles will share detailed and methodically produced performances. Make sure to tune in live on ACMi. However, if you miss the concert, it's also available on both ACMi's YouTube and the Ponder Remote page. And lastly, the Ponderscope now has an official email address. If you would like to see any particular story included on our broadcasts, make sure to email ponderscope@acmi.tv. And that's all for this week's edition of the Ponderscope. From my home to yours, I'm Sam Derringer.
Thank you for tuning into this week's newscast. For the cast and crew of ACMi News, including Birthday Boy and Senior News Producer Anim Osmani, I'm Young Kim, and we'll see you next time.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.